We're down here in Thurrock on the morning after the night before, after question time. I'm going to be standing here in the general election, just on a walkabout in the town with the press, really trying very hard to find people who saw question time and thought I did badly, and they either found people who hadn't seen question time, didn't want to talk to the press, or thought it was all right and that I'd been bullied. And that's the overall message we're getting from people up and down the country. I know that some of our regulars, hardcore members, who've seen me wipe the floor with everybody in British politics, thought I was going to do the same last night. That was never going to happen. 4-1 and a very, very biased judge. Simply not possible. What the British public saw last night was what did happen, was that the BBC, having been forced by 1 million British National Party voters to put me on question time, they made sure that it wasn't question time. Front page of today's Times, a blatant admission by the BBC. They decided to completely change the format of that programme, and they feel they were justified by how it went. So we've had question time for literally 30 years, always the same format. Politicians talking perhaps one or two questions about someone controversial on there like me, then all the rest talking about the issues of the day. And we know from phone calls we've had, emails we've had, and especially from local radio stations phoning in, that the public's response to that, of the 8 million people who watch the programme, when normally it's fewer than 3 million, the overwhelming majority of the public saw that for what it was, which wasn't question time, that was a lynch mob. They saw a carefully organised ambush, and in effect loads of people described it as a bear baiting session with 3 dogs and the referee all ganging up on a bear with his paws bound together. And Bonnie Greer, to be fair, she was against me, but she was also fun, she was intelligent, she was all right. The others, it was a disgraceful display of bullying by the political elite, which doesn't bother me at all, because up until now I think several million of the people watching won't really have understood the nature of the bias against the British National Party. And after what they saw last night, those people now understand how hostile the mass media, the political elite, are towards us. So from now on, every time they see something which is biased against us, they'll spot that bias. It's made them think. Long term, it's going to be very, very important to us. Shorter term, the key thing is the response from the public. We had, in the hours running up to question time yesterday, we had 1,000 people register on our website that they wanted to join the party, that we must contact them when we can, let them in, they want to join the party, before it went out. In the couple of hours before it was too late, after the programme went out, another 2,000 registered to say they want to join the British National Party. That's 3,000. On top of that, we had another 6,000 people registering to receive our regular email bulletins. So that's 9,000 more people directly in contact with us. And on top of that, of course, we've had literally hundreds of thousands of visitors to our site over the last few days who've been looking at what we've got to say, and a lot of those people will be coming back, especially now they've seen really what we say instead of what the media pretend that we say. So, hard pounding though it was, that's really been quite an event for the British National Party. I've had another mini question time down here with the press today, and there's a lot of stuff going out. Someone out live on Sky and so on. There's a lot of material going out this lunchtime, and the key thing is I've issued a number of challenges. I've challenged David Dimbleby and the question time team to do it properly this time. Let's really have question time. When I got on, I should have been discussing with the other politicians things such as the postal workers' strike, things such as the announcement just a couple of days ago that Tony Blair is almost certain to be the unelected president of the European Union within just a few weeks. Things such as the scandal that it's now admitted that the government has blown £1.5 trillion on bailing out their friends in the banks, while beginning to line up a wave of service cuts, with even the Lib Dems saying they're going to have savage cuts in services for ordinary decent people to save a few billion when they've blown £1.5 trillion propping up the banks. Those are the sort of things we should have discussed. We should have been discussing the fact that they're all in favour of a war in Afghanistan. The Lib Dems want to come out reasonably soon, but they don't know when. We're the only ones who say we should come out right now, because that war in Afghanistan has got nothing to do with Britain. It's turning our soldiers into terrorist targets. It's turned that country into an enormous training camp for terrorists. We'll have nothing but woe and misery from that place, and we should bring our boys and girls back from that and set them to guarding our borders and protecting this country. Those are the things that people wanted to see and hear, and millions of British people today feel cheated by the BBC and the political establishment. That won't wear off. That's going to be there for a long time. Those people now in touch with us, and I'm speaking to some of you now, please get involved with the party, come along to meetings, become active, because you've seen now how the entire political elite is biased, not just against me, but you saw how they couldn't even accept the idea that the English have a right to an identity, a right to exist in this country and maintain it fundamentally, as our country, and the same for the Scots and the Irish and the Welsh. They won't even recognise it. One of the many things I wasn't allowed to bring up with Jack Straw yesterday was that only about 3 years ago he characterised the English as racist and prone to violence, and said the world effectively will be a better place without us. I wasn't allowed to raise that kind of thing, but millions of people saw that attitude, not just of Jack Straw, but of the whole political elite last night. It's going to go down as a very important moment in British political history. The Liberal elite are trying to sell it at present that, they dealt with Nick Griffin and so on. All they did was to show their bias and their bile and their hatred to millions of British people who were disgusted with that, and now look on the British National Party as the people who are willing to stand up under intense pressure to tell the truth and to explain how the ordinary, decent, tax-paying people who built this country feel about what the old elite have done to this country. If you feel like that as well, get involved with us, not just to stop them making things worse, but to help us put it right.